A Tale of Enchantment, Snow White's Journey to Happily Ever After. Once upon a time, in a quaint village nestled within a dense forest, lived a beautiful young girl named Snow White. Her stepmother, the queen, was consumed by jealousy of Snow White's radiant beauty. Unable to bear the thought of anyone surpassing her in loveliness, the queen devised a wicked plan to rid herself of Snow White. One crisp winter morning, as snowflakes danced in the air, the queen sent Snow White into the forest, accompanied by a huntsman tasked with her demise. However, when faced with the innocence and purity of Snow White, the huntsman's heart softened. He couldn't bring himself to harm her and instead warned her of the queen's treachery before allowing her to flee deep into the woods. Lost and frightened, Snow White stumbled upon a small cottage hidden amongst the trees. Peeking through the window, she saw 7 tiny beds neatly arranged, and realizing it must belong to 7 dwarfs, she timidly knocked on the door. To her relief, the dwarfs welcomed her with open arms, charmed by her kindness and grace. Grateful for their hospitality, Snow White offered to take care of the cottage while the dwarfs were away mining in the mountains. With her gentle touch and nurturing spirit, she transformed the humble abode into a warm and inviting sanctuary. Meanwhile, back at the palace, the queen's mirror revealed the truth: Snow White was alive and thriving in the forest. Enraged by this revelation, the queen concocted a plan to rid herself of Snow White once and for all. Disguised as an old peddler woman, the queen ventured into the forest with a poisoned apple in hand. Finding Snow White alone in the cottage, she offered her the apple as a gesture of goodwill. Unaware of the danger, Snow White accepted the gift and took a bite, instantly falling into a deep slumber. Upon their return, the dwarfs were distraught to find Snow White lying motionless on the floor. Desperate to save her, they searched for any sign of life. Discovering the poisoned apple, they realized the only cure lay in the kiss of true love. Days turned into weeks as the dwarfs and animals of the forest kept vigil by Snow White's side, hoping for a miracle. One morning, as the first rays of dawn broke through the trees, a handsome prince stumbled upon the cottage. Mesmerized by Snow White's beauty even in her enchanted sleep, he knelt beside her and pressed his lips to hers. In that moment, the curse was broken, and Snow White's eyes fluttered open. Overjoyed by her awakening, the prince declared his love for her, and together they vowed to never be parted again. As news of Snow White's revival spread throughout the kingdom, the queen's heart filled with rage and jealousy once more. Determined to destroy Snow White herself, she concocted a deadly potion and disguised herself as an old hag once more. Storming into the cottage, the queen confronted Snow White with the poison potion. But before she could force it upon her, the dwarfs leaped to her defense, overpowering the queen and revealing her true identity to the prince. Defeated and consumed by her own wickedness, the queen met her demise, leaving Snow White and the prince to reign over the kingdom with kindness and compassion. And so, Snow White and her prince lived happily ever after, their love shining brightly for all eternity, a testament to the power of goodness triumphing over evil.